And the recording is started. So welcome to CBOR Interim. I posted a link to the Etherpad where the agenda is, and we need an attendee list as well. The first point on the agenda is a status update for CBOR. So, Karsten.
So you want me to talk?
Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah.
I mean, I know what's going on. I saw Michael's working group Let's Call review.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael, for that. But maybe you can detail
Yeah,
a bit more.
that was very useful, getting some of the things that seem to be obvious to the authors to the surface again. I think that's really useful. So there have been a couple of small pull requests, and there's also one outstanding issue that I didn't manage to convert into a pull request before this meeting. And there is one other issue, another small issue that probably can be closed, but where we need to verify that. So in the asymptotic curve, we are getting very, very close to the axis, I think. The axis.
Is there anything we want to discuss by voice right now?
Well, if Michael wants to say something about the pages of email I sent to him 15 minutes ago, that would be useful.
I haven't read yesterday's email yet, so I don't know about today. I haven't read that yet, so thank you for that. I'm sure it'll be fine. I guess I think you're in the right direction based on what you've said so far.
Yeah, so my assumption would be that we continue this back and forth a little more, but we essentially should be done by the end of the week, together with the other items that are on the issue list. And the one thing that is not explicit as an issue that we need to put in a little bit of work this week is the changes from 7049 section in the appendix. So there are several ways of handling that. One is to just add and to be deleted by RFC editor mark on it. And the second approach is to actually edit it so it is useful for people who are reading this and know 7049 and know why this document is rearranged so much. We currently have a little bit of that in the last paragraph of the introduction, and Michael already proposed to expand this. I think actually that would be material, what Michael proposed, that could be used in the appendix.
Karsten, that's a required section for this document.
That's it?
That is a required section for this document.
There is a...
delete it. You must have that section in this document.
Okay, says who?
The IESG.
Oh, okay. So that makes things easy. So we just have to do the work.
Okay, so you were aiming to get an updated version end of this week?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, then I guess we'll have to take a look at the diff from the previous version and see how to move forward. I just wanted to mention that I have started, like I have done the Shepherd review. Just yeah, now I will need to look at this this next update to finish it, but it shouldn't take long anyway. Okay, so the next point on the agenda was the unknown tag conclusion. Let's see. Do we need to say anything about this?
Well, I made a very small change in pull request 187.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, reading all the discussion at the end, I didn't think we actually needed to change anything. This was mostly just reaffirming within the group that we actually have what we want.
Yes. And I guess we are waiting. Yeah, no, that's right. It's the next point. Okay. Yeah, we have discussed Michael's review. So you said that there has been a bunch of pull requests that have been merged, and yeah, just making sure that Michael is also keeping track of that, so is satisfied with the how the issues he brought up are dealt with.
So just on that, my understanding is like the way I've been phrasing it is if you put a tag in CBOR, you really need to mean it. You really are expecting everybody to pay attention to it. You don't just put them in because they're nice to be there. You really, and if you don't understand it, you probably should be failing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Have you seen the 187, Lawrence? The pull request?
No, I haven't. I'll look at it right now.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah, on the agenda, otherwise, I put the CBOR notable tags document that Karsten submitted. Thank you, Karsten. Do you want to maybe introduce or just remind what this was for?
Yes.
And yeah, go ahead.
So I've been banning about this document for a couple of years now that we should have it, and this got urgent now because we needed a repository for the invalid tag. Actually, we wouldn't have needed it. It was not specification required. It was just first come, first served. But of course, it makes much more sense to actually have a document there. And also that is now being referenced by CBOR. Now, there are several questions here. One is this a document the working group is somehow interested in? Right now, it's more of the style, I went ahead and looked at the registered tags and wrote a little bit of commentary about them, and I'm not even done. I have only done about half the work yet. So it's more a personal perspective. Do we want to keep it that way as a personal perspective? And working group time on that? I think that's a question we don't have to answer now, but that at some point we want to answer. And if we actually do want to spend working group time on it, then the question is, do we maybe want to adopt a version of this document, maybe not the current one because there are so many holes in it, a version of this document in time for the reference in CBOR BIS to point to a working group draft instead of a personal draft. But that's only a question that comes up if we decide we want to spend working group time on this.
So there is no need for this draft to ever become an RFC, right? Like we said that
Right,
say
but
a draft.
then I think I would probably submit it to the independent stream at some point because it's just handy to have it available from the same sources from which you get 7049 or its successor.
With my chair hat off, I think it would be nice to have this adopted by the working group. Personally, I think that it would make sense. But, what? Any other opinion?
So who has read this document?
I have not yet read the document, but I'm tend to be of the same opinion as Francesca that it makes sense to be a working group document.
There is the risk that if we want to publish it as a working group document, like when is the moment that we stop and we publish it? Because it's when do we say, okay, this is a good amount of tags that is good to have published?
September 2023?
Why that date?
Because that will be 10 years of CBOR.
Uh-huh. Okay, so you're putting a time limit.
Yeah, clearly, I mean, we will get new tags all the time, and that means if they are notable, this means they will lead to an update of this document, and it doesn't have to be 10 years. I think it was September 2013, if I remember correctly. So we don't need to have a time limit. It doesn't have to be 10 years from now. But if you ask for a time limit, then I would say September 2023.
So from a chair point of view, this is not really in the charter, right?
I would have to reread the charter very closely to find an answer to that question.
I mean, that's not a problem, obviously, but if the working group agrees that it makes sense to adopt this document. But it would require some work there.
We would have to negotiate with our responsible AD, yes.
Yes, yeah.
So this is saying, Carsten, do you see other candidates that you have a feeling that might come into scope before some vital point in time? or is this relatively complete?
Well, it's almost complete now because it reflects the content of the registry minus one tag where the author of the tag replied to me, he doesn't quite understand what it means either. So I thought we might want to clarify that before we actually put it into this document. But of course, new tags are registered all the time, so it will get incomplete again. Might get incomplete because we don't get permission by some of the authors to actually include text about it. But it's quite close to being complete at the moment.
Thanks.
But it doesn't mean all the work has been done.
Okay, so I think that what we can say is to now we started the discussion, and it would be great to have more people in the working group take a look at the draft and see if they think it would be a valid addition as a working group document. And me and Jim can check with Barry or start talking to him to see if it was to be adopted. How would we go about that? Does that sound good, Carsten?
Perfect.
Great. Okay, and this was my last point that I wanted to discuss today. So any other business or any other point?
Yeah, I would have one point from the trenches. Right now, we are finishing the SDF, the simple definition format, in 1DM. And the 1DM data model format uses elements of JSON schema org's proposal for its definition, for the data model parts of the model definitions that will be defined by that language. So that's not something that will change, at least it will not change soon. But I have managed to get them interested in using CDDL as the language that actually describes SDF itself. So if you go into my GitHub repository, github.com/CABO/SDF, simple definition format, then you can see a draft for the language specification. So that has two implications. First of all, it's nice to see that there is some interest in CDDL there. Second, I had to write CDDL to JSON schema org translator to make this palatable for everybody. So that is right now just sufficient to do the SDF syntax, but it might get better at that. So at some point it will be easier to do documents like the IODEF JSON definition, which currently has two appendices, of which nobody knows how close they are to each other, one in CDDL and one in JSON schema org form. But the other maybe more important observation is we are going to ask IETF whether they want to be the home for standardization of that language. And since that language uses some elements of JSON schema org, we will probably get a discussion whether JSON schema org itself might be something that the IETF wants to standardize. And yeah, you probably can guess that I have a personal opinion on that, but not really a strong opinion. But it's something that will be coming up. So possible outcomes might be the IETF doesn't want to touch SDF because that carries the JSON schema org discussion with it, and we don't want to have that discussion. Or maybe we get to a position where we say, okay, SDF uses some elements from JSON schema org, but actually defines them properly so we know what they mean, and leave the rest of JSON schema org for itself. Or it could mean that we actually pick up JSON schema org as work for the IETF that is done together with or separate from the SDF work. So that's really pretty strategic stuff I'm talking about right now, but I think it would be a good thing to keep that in mind and start thinking about what we want to do here. So there are other JSON-related things going on. So there is now a W3C schema variant that does JSON. I haven't looked at that thing. There are a couple of JSON schema org-like things going on right now. For instance, there is a draft in the independent RFC, independent submissions RFC editor queue that does something similar, but considerably simpler. Microsoft DTDL has something that is almost, but not entirely, unlike JSON schema, and so on and so on. So it's an interesting landscape. And given that we have CDDL, we are kind of forced to be part of that landscape and need to watch this closely.
Okay, thank you. Interesting.
Yeah, and if you ever need the CDDA to JSON schema org converter for some project like IODEF, please tell me about it, and I will fix my converter to be good enough for your application. That's a promise.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, quite short meeting today, but if there is nothing else, I think we can close the meeting here. Let me think if we need to. The upcoming meetings. So we are meeting in 2 weeks, the 3rd of June. And also we will be starting the preparation for IETF 108. And that will include drafting the agenda and everything. So you will see that in the mailing list. Please, yeah, answer me if you want to add something to the agenda. So we will discuss that.
For June 3rd, I would propose discussing the ABNF addition to CDDL. So the work is half done. I had to do the work because I needed an ABNF to regex converter, which I now have. And from there, it's almost trivial to get full ABNF support in the CDDL tool. So that's maybe something we want to discuss in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we need to restart the discussion on CDDL. I was focusing on CBOR BIS because I did want to put all effort into shipping it to ISG, or yeah. But yes, we need to bring this to the interims as well. So let's add it to next week agenda. for in 2 weeks agenda, next meeting. Sounds good.
Great.
Okay, if nothing else, then we can close the meeting. Thank you for calling in. Talk to you in 2 weeks.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.